The Midnight Clock. In the quaint, picturesque town of Ravenscroft, where cobblestone streets twisted through centuries-old buildings, there was a curiosity shop that few dared to enter. The shop, known as Curiosities and Wonders, was owned by an enigmatic old man named Mr. Blackwood. Among the myriad of bizarre and rare artifacts, one item stood out: a grand, ornate grandfather clock with intricate carvings and an unsettling aura. The clock, known as the Midnight Clock, had a dark history that only Mr. Blackwood knew in its entirety. Legend had it that the clock was crafted by a master clockmaker in the 17th century, a man named Ambrose Malachi. Ambrose was reputed to have been involved in dark magic, and it was said that he imbued the clock with a fragment of his malevolent spirit. According to the legend, every midnight, the clock would exert its dark influence on those nearby, drawing them into a world of nightmares. One rainy evening, a young woman named Emily, new to Ravenscroft, wandered into Curiosities and Wonders. Emily was an artist with a fascination for antique objects, and the midnight clock instantly captured her attention. Mr. Blackwood, sensing her interest, warned her of the clock's cursed nature, recounting the legend of Ambrose Malachi. Emily, intrigued rather than deterred, dismissed the warnings as mere superstition and decided to purchase the clock for her new apartment. The first night with the clock was uneventful. Emily admired its craftsmanship and placed it in her living room. She couldn't help but feel a strange pull towards it, as if the clock were whispering to her. As midnight approached, she found herself inexplicably drawn to the clock. The hands of the clock moved with a life of their own, and as the clock struck 12, the air grew thick and cold. A chilling silence fell over the apartment. Emily's vision blurred, and she found herself standing in an unfamiliar, dimly lit room. The walls were covered in dark, crimson wallpaper, and a heavy sense of dread filled the air. Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, and she could hear faint whispers, growing louder with each passing second. Terrified, she tried to move, but her feet felt as if they were rooted to the floor. A figure emerged from the shadows, a tall man with hollow eyes and a sinister smile. He introduced himself as Ambrose Malachi and explained that she had entered his domain, a place where nightmares were made real. Emily realized with horror that she was trapped within the clock's curse. Her mind pulled into a realm where Ambrose held absolute power. Over the next few nights, Emily experienced increasingly vivid and terrifying nightmares. Each night at midnight, she was drawn into the clock's dark world, where Ambrose tormented her with visions of twisted, monstrous creatures and relived her deepest fears. She tried to resist, but the clock's pull was too strong. Exhausted and desperate, she returned to Curiosities and Wonders, seeking Mr. Blackwood's help. Mr. Blackwood, seeing her haggard appearance and the fear in her eyes, knew that she had fallen victim to the midnight clock's curse. He revealed that the only way to break the curse was to destroy the clock, but warned that doing so would be incredibly dangerous. The spirit of Ambrose Malachi would fight to protect his creation, and Emily would need to confront him directly in the nightmare realm. Determined to end her torment, Emily agreed. Mr. Blackwood gave her a silver amulet, a protective talisman that would weaken Ambrose's hold over her. That night, as the clock struck midnight, Emily clutched the amulet and allowed herself to be drawn into the nightmare realm one last time. In the dark, crimson room, Ambrose awaited her, his eyes gleaming with malevolent delight. But this time, Emily felt a surge of strength from the amulet, and the shadows around her seemed to recoil. She confronted Ambrose, demanding that he release her from the curse. The spirit laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the room, and summoned monstrous creatures to attack her. With the amulet's power, Emily fought back, using its light to banish the creatures. She advanced towards Ambrose, who began to show signs of fear and anger. The amulet's light grew brighter, and the room trembled as the power of the curse weakened. Finally, with a burst of determination, Emily pressed the amulet against Ambrose's chest, and he let out a piercing scream. The nightmare realm shattered around her, and she found herself back in her living room, the midnight clock standing ominously silent. Gathering her strength, Emily smashed the clock with a hammer, breaking it into pieces. As the clock shattered, a dark, wispy figure emerged and dissipated into the air, leaving behind an eerie silence. Exhausted but free from the curse, Emily thanked Mr. Blackwood for his help. The midnight clock was no more, and Ambrose Malachi's dark influence was finally banished. Emily returned to her art, her experiences haunting her, but also giving her a new depth and intensity to her work. The story of the midnight clock became another legend in Ravenscroft, a cautionary tale of ambition and dark magic. Curiosities and wonders continued to attract visitors, but the space where the clock once stood remained empty, a silent reminder of the horrors that once resided there. And though Emily moved on with her life, she never forgot the chilling presence of Ambrose Malachi and the dark world she had narrowly escaped.